Welcome back to Sharing Your Stories. This time I'm bringing you a very special person, someone who is a great speaker and also works for the United Nations. She has a different point of view and she knows many, many things. Her name is Yasmeen Telwala. She's originally from India. Now she lives in the Emirates and she has done very incredible and crazy things like, well, she started to learn to swim in her 30s. And it's something that many people will feel that is something scary, but maybe Jasmine would like to add some of her thoughts about her transition and how she has dared to travel to multiple countries, live in different places, and how her journey in the United Nations started.
Thank you, Federico. It's lovely to be here. Very interesting questions as to why and how it all started. To be very honest, it was never a planned journey. It's not that I started in school and started thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna be working in United Nations," and it's never like that. Um, Rather, it's just happened because okay, to be very honest, I chose a master's in environmental education, which was not very popular that time, like 10, 12 years, 15 years back. Environmental issues would grow outside the world. They were gaining momentum outside, but not that much in India. So people would look at me thinking like, oh, what is she doing? Like in India, it's like basically you become either IAS, doctor, engineers, like not into environmental sciences. And it's just happened. I did my PhD in climate change, and then I went to United Nations University for my postdoctoral, and that's just simply because it offered a good scholarship and an opportunity to work on forest, which I really loved, and I liked doing my PhD work, and that was my first interactions with United Nations. And to be honest, I was surprised to know that there is a University of United Nations. We always thought that UN is more engaged in humanitarian affair and implementation on ground, but there was, and not many people know that there is a think tank of UN, so-called United Nations University. And I was in the Tokyo unit, like Japan. I was very excited to go out of the India. That was the first time actually that I was going to be staying outside India in Japan. And I must say I was very lucky because that's one of the most industrious country and a good start if you are living gonna go outside India and get a very different perspective of the world. Very meticulous people. I think I gained a lot in UN, not only from knowing what UN does, what is the meaning of UN, but also more about the different lifestyle of how what a work culture would mean, what being polite would mean, what being getting into details would mean, and that was thanks to Japan. It didn't stop there because then after working from with UNU, I had to come back to India to forests. I but at the same time I kept applying for UN jobs. Why did I do that? Because I liked working in multicultural environment. I had never imagined uh, myself a better platform where still you could work on issues that matters. I would feel different, not like all other Indians, like, oh, okay, IT. That was not the case. So something different that different countries have offer. Before that, I was never exposed to different languages. I never knew that people speak Arabic, French, Spanish, German so fluently, and one person can speak so many languages. It was all an eye opener. Therefore, I continued applying. I got lucky this time because I got appointed as as the as an associate program officer to carry work on land degradation neutrality, which is like the commitments. All the countries have to put up commitments as to how much area they will restore. Well, that is like a dream come true. You are working on a global program. uh, I have to say that my supervisor was utterly surprised with my stupidity and ignorance of the world when I joined because I knew nothing. He would ask me the capital of Africa and I would know nothing. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, how I'm gonna just pick this candidate and train it." Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is to say like the skill and the mentorship that you get in UN is amazing. The growth that have happened is because of the professional people that work in UN. I have to say that UN really gets best of people who are committed, and not only professionalism. It's the work. When you work in development sector, it is completely different mindset than working in a private sector. A private sector has a goal oriented approach, but in the development sector, it's more process oriented approach. You really work through the countries bottom up, live in through the political process, live in through the youth, activities. You have to always constantly be up on your heels and tasks. For colleagues, for example, who work on disaster reliefs or emergencies, so imagine the growth and the learning that comes along the way. And that's how I went that's where I went to actually Rome. Being in Rome was again fantastic. It was like the country, Italy. Who doesn't want to be in Italy, and who doesn't want to be in Rome? Like, it was like fantastic experience. And then it's another beauty of UN is that they have duty stations all over the world. So in case you are open for mobility, you get to go and really keep working in different places. And that was my case. So I kept applying for different locations, and I was lucky enough to get the second chance in Germany. That's when I moved to Bonn, and I was actually working with the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. But Germans are taking lead into the initiatives like climate initiatives and other, and the Climate Change Secretariat is also hosted in the same building in Bonn. So that's how I got to develop more understanding of the relationship between climate issues with different things, a little bit more understanding on how intergovernmental processes work, how negotiations work, um, how and what is being negotiated, talked about for like several years, how people complain about UN processes being very lengthy. UN faces everything. So, criticism, its role, everything being questioned at the same time, everyone coming and supporting multilateralism. So that is how the German time of Bonn was there. Uh, I have always been working on contracts, which are over 2 years. So then that contract expired. I had to apply for new position. I was interested in land tenure issues. I applied in FAO as a consultant, and COVID hit. So that was the best time because I was actually working as a consultant from India. And I have to admit that India was the best place to work during COVID because everyone wanted to move to their home country, and I had a chance. I was in my home country, and somehow Indians showed more resilience. Like, I didn't get bad stories as I have had heard of COVID from other regions, example Europe or US. Somehow the Indian resilience worked, and I had really great working time there. And I worked on a very important issue, that is the land tenure, which is very sensitive issue, and it is important as to who own the land when you are working on conservation. Things moved on, and then I thought to diversify. So with UN, another great thing is that you have variety of locations to work and variety of areas to work. And I thought, like, this time I would like to experience something different, and I tried my luck into marine conservation project. And I got lucky enough in the sense that I could find a job as a project manager here in United Arab Emirates, and that's where I am now. And I'm working on a marine conservation project, which is again on climate change and conservation of a marine mammal, dugong. And this is something I have no uh, sort of technical expertise, meaning I do not come from marine background, but it's just that my managerial skills and the the knowledge of the intergovernmental processes have helped me to actually continue working on this. I still see that this is just the beginning, because I still believe that I have a lot of, my dream is like to really work on as many countries as I can, and I am really keen in continuing my work with United Nations, irrespective of the criticism it receives. I can say as a young professional, still I'm a mid-level professional, that the platform that it offers, the experience that it offers, and the professionalism is unmatched.
Thank you very much, Jasmine, for everything you have shared. I would like to ask you that maybe you have a tip or some ideas in how people can nominate to apply for the United Nations or something that you can advise them or where to go because we live in times where there is a lot of misinformation on the internet. You might go to the wrong places.
Yeah, Federico, this is extremely, extremely, extremely important question because I have been asked so much about how to get into UN, and I myself was never ever told about UN, like how do we work in UN and how do we get in. So I can tell you that in our at least I can tell you more from the experience from India. There's so much youth. We get so much information about getting into every other things, but not into UN. Strangely, I am not sure why, but this is not being widely spread or known. I would encourage everyone to really look at the young professional program. That is one way to get into United Nations. They have a direct recruitment. It's like sort of tests that they organize for people who really want to start on early into the professional career with UN. It's a competitive process like any other examination. But having said that, this is not the only entry point. You have If you have expertise in different areas, even in you have been working in private sector for years, whatever skill you have had acquired, you can still get into UN at different stages, as professional, as a higher professional, as senior level, as a consultant. So the options are really multiple, and there is just one website that's called Inspira. So all the UN vacancies, all the UN agencies put their advertisements on Inspira, INSPIRE. It's a specific UN web page for job listings. And applying for UN is really simple. You just need to create your profile in this Inspira, keep yourself updated, filter your vacancies of interest, and please apply.
Thank you very much, Jasmine, for all your valuable insights. Hopefully, more people will inspire, especially even people in India and everyone who is listening to you, to join you in the United Nations. Thank you for everything and see you the next time.
Thank you so much, Federico.